touchdown.
The route, and Randy Moss, without even really being able to run, as he shoots the moon to the
pass, pumps to the left, 8 seconds left. He gets away from the pressure, fires to the end zone. It's caught! It's Greg Lewis! Oh my heavens! Greg Lewis's first catch has given the Minnesota.
Four, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode here of House Calls with Skulldog, brought to you by Minnesota Sports Talk. As always, I'm joined by Dave. Dave, how you doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Just super excited after the huge win preseason.
Oh, 2-0, undefeated.
Super Bowl.
Loss on the schedule.
Super Bowl.
So, Dave, we had some big news waking up this morning. We got a new cornerback that we added to the room, Mr. Stephon Gilmore. Saw that you released a video. Seemed like you were pretty excited.
Yeah, I mean, I just did a short, saying that we got him. And I actually did a long-form video. Didn't realize we'd gotten him, and I realized it got noticed an hour earlier. So I quickly did a short after I had already did a video. But, yeah, I was pretty excited for the fact that we need it. We needed the depth, even though we, lost Kyrie Jackson, and then we lost,
Blackman
for the year. This guy may have started anyways, right? Our starting cornerbacks are still healthy and on the team. That's the way I'm kind of looking at it. Our depth might not be as great because of Blackman, and obviously I was really high on Kyrie Jackson. I thought he was going to be a great Viking for us, but I think these guys would be starters anyways, just because of the experience and how much importance they put on that experience. So we at least our starting lineup maybe didn't get a dent to it. The depth, though, with losing those two players.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a necessary signing. I think they had to do it. I think that, by all reports throughout training camp, this defense has looked really good, maybe better, actually a lot better than what a lot of people expected it to look at. The national pundits saw that the Vikings had lost Danielle Hunter as a major piece, and they didn't necessarily think about replacing the pass rusher room with Van Ginkel and Jonathan Grenard, spending a first round pick on Dallas Turner. So it's definitely a deeper room than it used to be. And then, of course, defensive tackle, still a need for the Vikings, but it definitely seems deeper this year. They have the previous first-round pick that they signed from the Raiders, starting in the middle, and by all accounts, he's looking pretty good. And then you have Levi Drake Rodriguez, LDR, doing his thing, and he's looking great in these preseason games, and he's getting reps with the one as a situational pass rusher. So really the weakest link on this Minnesota Vikings defense was corner. And I was listening to Matthew Collar's show earlier, and he detailed that this defense was looking so good against Cleveland. They basically made Deshaun Watson look like a below-average starter, and he was really excited about what they were seeing. And he said there were still instances, though, where you needed a corner to make a play. So the corners were still getting beat, but the rest of the defense is there, and it's ready to pop. It's ready to be a top 10 defense. So in my mind, it was absolutely crucial to go out there and get a starter who the other quarterback just can't pick on. And no offense to a Caleb Evans, but I think he's a guy that we've seen in the past, when we've played the Lions, and they'll find a way to get Amon-Ra set up against a Caleb Evans, and they'll just pick on him. They'll just go at him time and time and time, and you can't stop that. So the Vikings defense last year was a lot of blitz everybody or rush 3. And so this year I think we're going to see a lot more rush 4. So I'm excited to see what the ceiling of this defense can be with Stephon Gilmore. And a big thing is when you bring in a guy like Gilmore, is going to be a starting boundary corner for you. And hopefully Shaq gets healthy and he's playing on the other boundary. Now you can move Byron Murphy to the nickel, where the Vikings ultimately wanted to play him from the get-go when they signed him. So you're upgrading 2 positions with 1 signing, and I really like that. So I think with average corner play that this defense can borderline be, and this is going to be a little hot, but I borderline be top 5 if everything goes well and they remain healthy. There's a lot of talent on this team.
Clip it. Top 5. School Doc, top 5 defense. Now, when you were talking about Deshaun Watson, you were talking about like the practices, right? Like
the 2 practices they had in Cleveland. The first day, the Cleveland Browns defense got a lot of notoriety because they were, making it tough on the Vikings starting offensive unit. But by all accounts, the Vikings defense was giving it to the Cleveland Browns both days. And the beat reporters for Cleveland were really concerned about what their offensive output can be this year based on how the showing that they put it forth against the Vikings.
Now, Gilmore started all 18 games for the Cowboys last year. I believe he had 2 picks and like 12, 13 pass breakups.
Yeah, he graded as an above-average starter. Last year, he had a terrible playoff game against the Packers. It wasn't just him. Deron Bland was jumping routes. He was trying to jump routes. They were guessing, and the Packers got a couple long ones on them. But by all accounts, he's been very good to at least above average, both with the Colts and with the Cowboys last year.
And that PFF grade would have been the highest on our team at cornerback.
Exactly.
So 71, I believe it was. So yeah, he's definitely an upgrade, and we like bringing in veterans, and this is one of those will it and the Vikings will sign it type of deals again. Everybody knows this was like probably our most important hole to fill, or to at least a room to strengthen. Kind of tied with defensive tackle, but we make up for it with the outside linebacker and edge rusher positions. I would say cornerback was still, you and me, I think both agreed that the cornerback room is probably the number 1 need.
Absolutely. A couple things about the signing. It's $10 million, but $7 million fully guaranteed. That is a lot of money for a veteran who's 34 years old playing cornerback. But again, the Vikings needed it. The good thing is that this is not really going to affect their 2025 cap, bringing and building that team for next year. So I like that aspect of it. It's also, like I said, it's not only improving the boundary corner, but you're improving that nickel corner spot, which is big as well. But they really needed this, in my opinion. And you're allowing Brian Flores to call the defense as he wants to call it. Whereas last year, I felt like he was really kind of hamstrung into calling what he felt like they needed to do in order to win games. Now he gets to play mad scientist and play it how he wants to call it, because he has corner play that he doesn't have to cover up with, blitz, putting everybody on the line and then playing deep zones behind it like we did last year.
Yeah. Now, there were some big winners in this game, and I think this guy really stood out. Christian Jackson. Tell me what you think about how he played. He played quite a bit of the game.
Absolutely. So I ended up getting that NFL Plus and watching it on my phone. That was a good recommendation by you. Definitely worth it. $7 a month. So I was able to watch the game, and Nick Mullins did his thing. He was good enough to feed these receivers, let them do what they could do, and he allowed Tristan Jackson to continue to pop and show us what he's about. And in my opinion, with the consistency that Tristan Jackson has showed us throughout training camp, but also in these games, he should be a lock to make this roster. The Vikings should not cut him, even mess around with other teams having the ability to sign him, because as good as he's been in the preseason games, not just going back this year, but also last year, I think that there's a team out there who would sign him away. So I would lock him down. I think the Vikings also like Trent Sherfield because of his blocking abilities. So when it comes to 53, I think that those are 2 names that we're going to see. But absolutely love Tristan Jackson's effort in this game. His toe tap touchdown on the left side of the end zone was beautiful. Good concentration, good hands. And he was just all over the field making plays and being consistent. And he's demonstrated that he can be a deep threat as well. So he's a natural all-around receiver. And, coming into the year, there's a lot of people who thought that the receiver room outside of the top 2, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, was left a lot to be desired. And I think that these guys have showed you that they have a lot to offer, and that comes down to coaching. Keenan McCardle is our wide receiver coach. I think he's the best in the league. And that's the reason that these names continue to show out. And I think it represents that the Vikings have a good coach there. And I hope that he stays with the team, because I'm willing to bet that he's going to start getting some offensive coordinator jobs here or interviews coming up here pretty soon.
Yeah, and he even was part of that.
The grooming,
the minority coaching, head coaching, program that they got going, including our defense coordinator. Now, one of the things going into this year, I was like, okay, if just Jalen Naylor could stay healthy, but this is a bonus. We got two guys who stay healthy. We got a third receiver. I feel with these two guys, Naylor, and I got Naylor here as the next guy we're going to talk about. But with Tristan Jackson and Naylor being a potential third receiver, now we're 4 deep, and we're having guys that are pretty decent fight for the 5th job. So, and then you got this Deshaun Jones catching a 71-yarder. He dropped one earlier in the game, but he caught that one and broke it. So, and he got behind the whole defense. So, how does that happen? So we're pretty deep and a lot of guys to choose from, but I think our top 4 are locks. I think Naylor and Jackson are locks right now.
And then Powell would be 5.
Well, I would say Powell's kind of got a big inside track and keeping on the roster, but
So locks for me right now is Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor. Those are your top 3. Powell is going to mix in for wide receiver 3 as well. So there's 4. I think Tristan Jackson has to make the team. That's 5. And I think Trent Sherfield's going to make the team. They'll keep 6. And those are going to be your 6 guys at receiver.
And, Tristan Jackson plays special teams. And, so he's got, I think that really solidifies it. And obviously Powell's our punt, I think he,
he's going to be our punt returner again this year.
So, yeah, we got some mix in there where they're actually, playing, on special teams. So that's important. Jalen Naylor, again, he looks like he's solid at 3 because he's going in there just to play, a series or 2, and then he's out now. So it's like, oh my gosh, they really think that much of him now.
Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised that they even had him play in this game, to be honest with you. But
I don't think he's playing the 3rd game at all.
I'd be surprised. We'll see if Tristan Jackson plays this next game either. But I think
he will. He played so much in the 2nd. I mean, you gotta feel the team, right?
They have bodies, but that would be a great indication that Tristan Jackson was a lock if he doesn't play next game.
Oh yeah, that would be for sure. Then if a player's not playing next week, unless there's sometimes there's a guy that doesn't play, I think we're pretty solid. Now here's a guy that kind of just bounced back, and I got him high-fiving Jones here. So they had a big connection, and Jaren Hall looked like a different person from week 1 to week 2.
Last week I was saying cut his ass. I was like, he's done. Get him out of here.
I was sitting here while you and Justin were talking, going, man, they're being a little harsh.
No, I was a little harsh. I was like, this guy, it should not look this hard, playing against 2s and 3s. He's been in the system for, as long as he's had 2 years, I believe now. It's like he has real game experience playing Atlanta and Green Bay, if you want to call that playing. That was such a terrible game. But, he came out in this preseason game. He throws a beautiful fade route to Malik Knowles, who may not have caught that ball. He let go of that pretty quickly. I thought they were going to reverse that, but they called it a touchdown. But anyways, beautiful ball by Hall. And then other than that, he would not have had a completion outside of that drop by Jones that you see there in the picture. He was, I believe, 5 of 6 for, with 2 touchdowns and a perfect quarterback rating damn near. So he was great this game. You got to give it to him.
Yeah. And I think watching him and Mullins, you could tell who's the more mobile of the 2 quarterbacks.
Oh, easily.
And he has the stronger arm too. Now Mullins is more, he knows more about football than Jaren Hall does right now. I mean, he's more comfortable in the offense. He's got the experience. they both are going to make bad decisions. Mullen made one that, thank God, the cornerback dropped it, but he makes those type of throws. He doesn't have the arm strength. Um, so it's like Jaron Hall's, I mean, he doesn't have the, super strong arm, but it's still strong. It's an NFL caliber arm. But then you throw in the mobility factor. He looked pretty solid out there, rolling out, felt pretty comfortable. And then the play action, his play action was definitely more, um, scares the defense a little more than Mullins' play action does. So I just felt I liked seeing him out there. I think this was, definitely his best game as a pro.
Yeah, for sure. I'd agree with that. He looked very good, very comfortable. It's just amazing how uncomfortable he seemed last week, and then he completely changed that. So he's going to have to work on his consistency, and continue to just look comfortable out there every single week. So my guess is that he's probably going to get cut, placed back on the practice squad. And they have that emergency quarterback thing where you can kind of have him ready for the game. If you need him, he'll probably be that emergency quarterback for the Vikings.
Well, my worries there is, I think enough people thought, decent enough of Jaron Hall coming out of the draft that it might be worth a flyer, especially on a quarterback needy team. And the fact that I don't think we want to go into this season with just two quarterbacks after what we experienced last year, and having Matt Corral be our third quarterback. I think even though I actually liked him out of all the quarterbacks that year that was coming out of college. I thought Corral was the most ready quarterback, and he hasn't really got the decent too much of an opportunity yet. But
he's got a weird backstory. Do you know about his backstory?
Oh, go ahead, man. We're learning right now. We're learning about the backstory of Matt Corral. Go ahead.
Yeah, so he was supposed to be a first-round pick, like later first round, and then he fell to the third round. And then Rappaport came out and said that there were character concerns, potential alcoholism that allowed him to drop. And then so he ended up getting picked by the Carolina Panthers. He flames out there. The next opportunity he was afforded was with the Patriots. So the Patriots sign him, but he doesn't show up. And they were like, hey, where are you? And then he finally shows up, and they kind of came to a mutual split. So where they're like, no, I don't think this is going to work. I think at that time it was a Bill Belichick thing where it's like, yeah, I don't think this is going to be a good fit for us. So he disappears again. He ends up in the UFL with Birmingham and plays some games with them. I think they actually win the championship.
Yeah, I remember him doing okay there.
Yeah, and then he pops up here. So kind of a weird career for him.
Well, my thought on this was that we won't see Mullins, and we'll see these two guys split the half.
Yep.
What do you think?
I agree with you. I think that it'll be Jaron Hall starting the game, and then it'll be Corral probably getting the second half.
And, I can't really – we threw him to the wolves, man. I don't think he was ready at all.
Just call 3 run plays, Kevin O'Connell. My gosh, the guy cannot keep his finger off the pass button.
Speaking of run plays, I was pretty happy with the way we ran the ball, especially with our two top, with Kenny and Myles Gaskins. Even McBride had a run or two, but definitely it's Kenny and Gaskins. They're two different type of running backs. I feel like Kenny was very decisive. He's really good on off tackle. I think Gaskins is a guy that can, plant his foot and hit the hole if it, or cut in. He can cut a lot better, I think. And he fell forward. He got a couple first downs. I think he had 5 yards. I thought he was tackled 5 yards short, and he kept falling forward. And then there's one play where he looked like he was tackled behind the line of scrimmage and ended up getting 3-4 positive yards. So I really like the way he played. I feel pretty good about the running back room.
Yeah, Wongwu he looked great. We haven't seen a lot from Wongwu in terms of an actual running back, but he averaged over 5 yards a carry. I think it was 6.4 yards per carry he was averaging. He showed excellent contact balance. He was running through arm tackles. He was running hard. I agree with you that he looks great off tackle. C gap, D gap looks great. Up the middle, probably a little bit more desired because he's not a big guy, But the biggest flaw for Wongwu is his pass blocking. He got blown up a couple times, both preseason weeks.
That's why we have Aaron Jones.
Exactly. No, Aaron he's a great guy to learn from. But I mean, part of it is just being a little bit bigger, and then the other part of it is getting your pads under you and keeping your feet moving and delivering a punch. Because I feel like when I watch Wongwu, he just his feet stop, and then once your feet stop, they're gonna blow right through you. So that's something he's gonna have to work on, and that's the same thing with Ty Chandler, and Kevin O'Connell needs to know that you can protect, because a lot of the times KOC will keep the back in on those third downs rather than leak them out. So you're going to have to pass protect if you're going to want to be out there and get afforded more opportunities. But yeah, I think Wongwu's another lock for the team. Obviously, he's going to be our primary kick returner. Yeah. He's going to be he's going to be running back 3. In terms of Gaskin, I like the burst that he has. He's got good hands as well out of the backfield. Again, not a very big guy, but he's a great running back to keep in the practice squad in case you have an injury and to keep around the building for sure.
And we've kept 5 running backs on the team before, including with a fullback. But
they tend to be good at special teams guys.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, you'd really have to play special teams, but yeah, I mean, I could agree with that. That we'd keep 3 starting running backs and then a fullback and put him on a practice squad.
McBride really hasn't shown me anything, and I just don't think it's translating.
Yeah, he's definitely cuttable, but again, you can keep 16 guys on practice squad. So.
Right.
And we ran through running backs like freaking water last year. So. And speaking of, just like Jaron Hall, one week to the next, but this is like 1 year to the next. This is like a different person we're seeing out there. I mean, we noticed that he played well on special teams last game, but this game he played both phases of the football very well and led us in tackles with 11.
Yeah, and he showed you the old Silu that we knew from the Georgia film, right? Like when you saw him play, you're like, oh yeah, that's what we thought we were drafting. And it was awesome to see him have a great game. He played the entire game. All the beat writers are on the same page regards to Silu, and that is that the Vikings were absolutely shopping him, and this was a game to try to get him as much time as possible to allow other teams to get film on him in hopes of getting a pick sent our way. The thing I want our listeners to keep in mind is that this is vanilla shell defense. This is the Donna shell defense that we were playing for these 2 games. And that allows Silu to play center field and read and react, which is his game. Okay. Throughout training camp in practice, he has not gotten runs with the second team. He's been a lot of third team behind guys like Bobby McCain. And he has not been making plays. And I think the biggest reason for this is because Brian Flores' defense at the safety position requires a lot of intelligence, and more so than just see ball, get ball, read and react, which I think is Scene's game. It just for whatever reason has not worked from a scheme fit with Scene in the B-Flow defense. So as good as this performance was and as happy as I was to see him go out and do his thing, I do think that the likely scenario with Scene is that he gets traded for a late round draft selection or maybe even cut. Now, if I'm wrong and if he stays a Viking, I'll be happy, right? 1 more year, see how he does a year even further removed from the leg injury. Now, speaking as your foot and ankle doctor, I don't see a reason that this should still be bothering him. And we saw him moving quite well out there. But one thing that I wonder is, did he lack confidence coming off of the injury? Did he need more live game reps to be comfortable to go out there and hit people like we saw him hit people this weekend? And I don't know the answer to that. My gut, though, tells me that he's not going to be on this team this year just because of what I've heard from the beat reporters and their confidence in saying that he really hasn't been a factor for this team at all in training camp.
Well, one of the things that can get you a lot of confidence is coming out and playing as well as you do to show that you might run with the 2s instead of the 3s from now on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna, sure, putting a guy out there for tape is, possibly being able to shop him, but I look at our recent history with safeties. I mean, was it 2 years ago? I think Cam Bynum gave up like a 114 quarterback or like 120 quarterback rating when balls thrown his way. I mean, he wasn't very good, and then he busted out, right? And then you got Josh Metellus. He was a late round pick and didn't get any time, and then to finally get some time, things like that. Now you throw out Harrison Smith, you got Cam Bynum, Josh Metellus, and then you got Theo Jackson, Jay Ward, and Lewis Seen. Well, you know, Lewis Seen could be a guy that comes up, and again, this is the GM's first draft pick, and you just saw him ball out, and you're like justifying your decision, right? You possibly justifying your decision right now. You already traded off Booth as your number two, one of your number 2 draft picks. Now you got Lewis Seen finally got an opportunity to be on the field and play the way he wants. And I honestly think, you talk about potential, the way he plays is read and react, but he also was coming out of college. We talked about how intelligent he was, like the quarterback of the Georgia defense. I feel like, and when I go back and look at videos of Kwesi talking to Kene because of the heritage connection they had, and he always likes to talk about music with the player and stuff like that. He really wanted this guy. I felt like this was his guy, and he wanted to trade down and take him. So, and it's your number 1 pick, your first pick ever. I just think, we talked about this last week. I said, who would you keep, a Seen or Bobby McCain as your 5th safety? We both said we'd just keep the younger guy. I think I wouldn't rule out trading him if we got a good deal, but I think we like depth. We're going to lose Harrison Smith. That's the position Lewis Seen would play. I think free safety, center field, and that's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I hear you.
I think we want to keep him.
I hear you. I'm just saying, to our listeners, don't be surprised if he's not a Viking in a couple of weeks, because based on what I'm hearing from beat writers, that's the way that it's probably trending. So if he stays a Viking, I'll be happy. If he ends up getting traded or cut, I'm also prepared for that mentally as well. And that we need to remember that what we see in preseason, isn't always the most important thing in terms of grading these players from the coaching staff and whatnot. But I hear you, Dave. It'd be a terrible sunken cost to trade down from, I think it was 15 that year, all the way to 32.
12.
You get that Booth selection, and
we trade down from 12.
From 12, yeah. And so you end up trading, both of the players, Seen and Andrew Booth. Is not a great start, for Kwesi's career, but at the end of the day, it's not about how you start, it's how you finish. I think that Kwesi's done an excellent job as the GM since that 2022 draft. So I'm willing to let that one slide personally, and move on.
I just felt a lot more confidence, and he finally stacked a couple bodies, and I felt pretty good about that. And then special teams, he covers a lot of field, and he's actually came across from his position to get a guy on the opposite sideline in the first game. And I was telling guys last night that when he's on the field, he may be the fastest guy on the field.
Yeah, he's got the athletic profile to be, and the size to be a great special teamer. And Judd Zolgad always maintained, on their show, that he doesn't play special teams. And I was like, well, is that because they don't have him playing special teams, or because he physically can't be a good special teamer? Because physically he looks like he should be a hell of a special teamer.
Well, and with Najee Thompson out, so that's why I was kind of leaning towards him.
Yeah, I'd like to see Lewis Seen as a punt gunner. I bet he'd be good at that.
I mean, he ran a 4.38 in the combine. So now we did boost up our corner spots, but here's a guy, McLaughlin, that got the pick and got ran down by the quarterback. But I mean, you get ran down by their quarterback's not too bad, because
Tyler Hunt is pretty quick. Yeah,
Huntley's pretty quick.
And to be fair, it was like a 99-yard punt, or I'm sorry, interception return. It was he was running a lot.
Didn't have to run as far. He didn't have to.
Shit, I'd make it to the 40-yard line and tap out.
I'd make it 5 yards maybe. But yeah, he's showing that he's coming from undrafted free agent to possibly making the 53. And well, Gilmore makes it a little more of a you know, tougher job making the team, but he looks pretty good, and I think a lot of people like him.
I agree. I love this kid. Great production in college. He wasn't the best athlete, which is why he went undrafted, but the guy can obviously ball. And he was a big winner of mine for this game. Obviously, had that long interception return. In the joint practices with Cleveland, he had another interception, pick 6 in that practice. So he's been making plays. And I think personally, if it was my decision, I would give him a roster spot over one of these older vet guys.
For sure.
Jay Ward has not shown me enough through 2 seasons. I'd probably cut a guy like Jay Ward over.
He was
McLaughlin.
A tweener anyways, right?
Yeah, he's a tweener between corner and safety. He was drafted years as safety because they at the need at the position of cornerback, they moved him to corner for training camp, but he's been getting toasted as a corner. I don't think he's a corner. So basically they're trying to, groom him for the Metellus role, being kind of that slot corner / safety. And, I'd rather keep a guy like this and just prevent another team from poaching him because I think he's shown you that he has talent. So looking at the cornerback locks, I say the top 3 locks is you have Byron Murphy, Stephon Gilmore, and you have Shaq Griffin as your 3 locks. You have McLaughlin, who I think should deserve a spot. Fabian Moreau probably gets a spot, and you may keep 6, one more. So who would that? Caleb Evans, probably your 6th and final corner. Although
that AJ Green had a pretty decent. I saw him make
Yeah, I don't think AJ's been getting a lot of runs with the 2s though. I think he's strictly with
I'm
the
just
3s.
saying I just thought he looked good at the end
he's
of the
probably
game,
a practice squad guy. He's played a lot of ball in the past, so he's a good guy to keep around. But I'm all about McLaughlin, man. And that's another point to Kwesi is he's killing it with undrafted free agents. It seems like every year now, just bringing in a guy who has potential. And kudos to ownership for paying up and getting these guys in the door.
Yeah, one of the things I saw the first preseason game is him do this. He baited, or no, it was a practice, and he baited Sam Darnold to throw and make an out route at the goal line, and he baited him to do it and just was able to step in front of it. If he was a little quicker, it'd have been a pick 6. So I really like this guy's ability. I really do. And but you thought there was a big loser in the cornerback room, or a loser in the cornerback room, and that was, and you go ahead and say who you thought it was.
Yeah, I think Caleb Evans was the loser of the corner room for this game. I mean, he comes out and starts the game, a game where the Vikings are not starting any of their starters except for 2 guys, Ed Ingram and a Caleb Evans. And then in that first drive, a Caleb Evans has a chance to get them off the field and bat down a third down slant route. And he's in great position. He swipes at the ball blindly and misses it. The guy catches the ball to have first down. And this is a Caleb Evans. We've seen this now. We have a sample size with him. He cannot play the football. He's in good position. He's athletic as hell when he's not running the wrong coverage like he did against the Lions. I just can't get that out of my head. There's a couple games against the Lions. There was a game, 2 years ago, I think, where the Lions were winless and he played too far into the end zone, let the guy catch the ball for the Lions. That was their first win of the season. I'm pretty sure that was the year where we went to the playoffs and lost to the Giants, 2022. But anyways, I just think of Caleb Evans has, first of all, the fact that he started this game and played despite the starters not playing shows that the coaching staff wants to see more out of him, probably more consistency out of him. So they're not completely sold on him. So after the Stephon Gilmore signing today, I think that shows you that, he's probably your first guy off the bench. If I had to guess, he's your 4th corner at this time. But hey, he could be a surprise cut. I wouldn't be surprised if he's somebody who gets surprisingly cut.
Yeah, that would be a big fall from grace. Now, another big loser, and I was screaming about a play this guy didn't make, or I don't know. Go ahead, talk about him.
No, huge loser this game. First of all, like I just said, everything I just said for Caleb Evans, they have these guys starting, and it's a message, right? Pick up your play, show us some consistency. You're going out there against backups, do something. And Ingram looked terrible. He had a terrible PFF pass blocking grade that passed the eyeball test. I thought he looked bad. There was a stunt that he let cross his face and get a hit on Mullins.
Again, that's his biggest problem. He doesn't recognize stunts.
No. And you can even see him leaning in this picture. He's leaning too much forward. It allows the defender to swipe his hands away. Then he falls forward because he's not balanced. It's just a technique issue. He's not getting the technique. He's got the size to be a great guard, but the technique isn't there. And at this point, I'm ready to move on. I don't think they have an option really to move on. I don't think that Dalton Risner is going to be an option for them because he's just so terrible in the run game that he's almost unplayable. Despite giving you great pass protection, I think they do want to be able to run the football with Aaron Jones. So this year it is what it is. I wouldn't be surprised if Ingram isn't the right guard next year, and this is the year we finally see the Vikings spend up and buy a guard. But one thing I just want to say real quick is, isn't it crazy that Blake Brandel came in this year to be your starting left guard? They said there's going to be a little competition. There really hasn't been. He's been the guy from day one. And then Blake Brandel, who's new to starting at left guard this year, gets the day off, doesn't even have to dress. But Ed Ingram has to play. I mean, that just shows you the lack of confidence they have in this kid.
Well, when our OC said he's earned the job, and then we went out and got Risner, everybody thought he was going to go after left guard just because he's never played right guard in the NFL. I'm like, when Vikings put out their depth chart, and I'm looking at it right now, they got Risner backing up right guard, and I was like, I knew from that point he was set, but when preseason last year, and we didn't know each other then, I was banging the drum for Brandel to start over Ed Ingram. They played Brandel at both left and right guard in preseason, and at right guard he looked really good for the first preseason game. And I was banging the drum because Ed Ingram didn't look good at all, and it's really weird because he's 6'8", and that's just really weird for an offensive line, especially a guard. So it is really awkward, but the fact that they put Risner at right guard and he had never played right guard in the NFL, that it really showed me that they really wanted to light a fire under Ingram, and he hasn't answered yet.
Nope. And get ready because week 1 he's got to go up against Dexter Lawrence. Good luck.
Now you in your message you said something about Will Reichert, and tell us what you think. Is he gonna win Mr. Mankato, you said?
Yeah, he's Mr. Mankato. Congratulations. Dude came in here, and since he got here, he's been nails. He's missed 3 kicks, 2 kicks in a training camp practice the day after they let go of his competition. And then the 1 kick was blocked. It wasn't even his fault in the first preseason game because Juergens got blasted on his ass. Speaking of Juergens getting blasted on his ass, that happened in the second preseason game as well. Now, I like Juergens' athletic ability and his chances of sticking around this team and potentially even being your center next year, depending on how Garrett Bradbury plays this year and his contract situation going forward. But Juergens needs a year in the weight room to put a little sand in his pants because that guy is getting bullied out there. He looks like rookie Garrett Bradbury when that Packer, who's the guy who kicks our ass every year, who's their defensive tackle?
Clark.
Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark puts him on his butt every single year, forklifts him. Anyways, back to the kicker with walk-off Will. This guy, in my opinion, is going to be our kicker for the next 10-plus years. I think he's great. He's the leading scorer in NCAA history, or is it SEC history, I think.
It's definitely Alabama history. I don't know.
I think it's SEC history, leading scorer. So he's been in big games. He doesn't feel pressure. He looks consistent as hell, and it feels so good to not have to worry about that for once as a Vikings fan. It's just one less thing.
I felt so confident. In fact, I was rooting for us to try to kick that. I think Mullins got sacked or something like that, and I was like, okay, do it. Just kick it. Because I was like, it's going to be about a 63-yarder or something like that. I'm like, do it. No, they didn't do it. They punted, but yeah, I feel super confident about this guy, man. I it just feels like the game's not too big for him. Um, Greg Joseph had a great leg, but he just didn't. I don't know how much it is because I had Greg Coleman on my show and he talked about special teams, how it really is between the snapper, the holder, and the kicker of having 2 years together, or having a few years together, and having it down. And when we got rid of our punter and got right, I was like, oh crap, that might be a thing. And sure enough, we missed 5 or 6 extra points, but I don't feel like it's a thing with Will Reichert. I think he's solid. Now, of course, we got. Let me zoom in on this picture. We got Ryan Wright. You apparently think he's gonna. Has he won the job as our punter?
Yeah, I'm declaring it right now. He's your winner. Congratulations, Ryan Wright. You are the Minnesota Vikings punter. And part of this, looking at this picture right here, he's the primary holder for walk-off Will. There has been nobody else in camp to hold for Will. So they are not going to switch that 2 weeks before the season starts. So he will be your punter. And then the other point on that is Ryan has looked better. He had a down year last year. He knows that. The team knows that. They've been public about that. The other competition, the punter they brought in, Seth Vernon, from the camp videos early on, the guy had a crazy leg. Him and Ryan were going back and forth and just hammering the ball. But once the lights came on, Seth did not impress me in the last 2 games that I've seen him. When they given him chances, he shanked one. His other punts were fine. They're averaging probably 40, 45 yards net. But his leg wasn't the boom, the cannon that we kind of expected, to whereas I feel like Ryan Wright's has been. And Ryan's done a good job of not outkicking his coverage. The issue that Ryan Wright has had last year that needs to get better is the touchbacks. And he hasn't had a lot of opportunities this preseason to really prove that he's getting better there. So we'll just have to see how that goes as the season progresses.
Yeah, the first season he was amazing at it. And then the second season he was the worst in the league. It was like out of any player that had one season to the next that was good to bad, it was Ryan Wright. He was absolutely awful. No, his first season he had a really bad Bears game. That one where we went up like 21-0. He had a really bad special teams. He shanked a ball right before half. But otherwise he was pretty consistent. Now last year he was just consistently bad. Kicking in the end zone constantly. He just couldn't. He was kicking it inside the 20 pretty consistently the first season. And the second season he couldn't do nothing. I felt like he's cost us games because of field position. I felt that about him, and hopefully he bounces back. Right now we got 2 guys that look like punting that look like tight ends. I mean, they're big dudes. So that was one thing I noticed.
Yeah, and he's a young punter, so hopefully he bounces back and picks it up. So
now everybody's darling the first week was Bo Richter. He did get a sack this game, but how do you feel about his opportunity to make this team?
I don't think Bo's going to make the team, but I still like him, and I think that obviously he's athletic as hell. A RAS score of damn near 10. I think it's 9.97 or something. Just needs more conditioning. I saw a funny tweet that he's JJ Watt from Temu. He's discount JJ Watt. So
Wish.
Yeah, from Wish, exactly. So yeah, I think he's probably going to be
practiced. He does look like JJ Watt. I heard that comparison. Big ass elbow. Dude, yeah, it does look like it.
Yeah, but I think he's going to be on our practice squad. I just think it's going to be tough for him to make the team. I think that him and Andre Carter probably make the practice squad. A guy that I wasn't big on because he was rated almost dead last among rushers last year was Patrick Jones. But the Vikings like him this year, and they see a role for him to be rushing over the guard in NASCAR packages on third down for him this year. So I think he's going to make the team. And a guy like Bo, if there's an injury, they can call him up from the practice squad and maybe use him as a pass down specialist this year. But I like what I saw from year one. And again, he's an Air Force guy, so he's got to get conditioned and built up a little bit for the NFL. But I love what I saw from him.
Well, when you look at the outside linebacker, you got Grenard, Van Ginkel, Pat Jones, and Turner probably locks. So then you're looking at Gabriel Murphy, right, and him,
And we
and
love
then
what we saw from Gabe, but he's been hurt for like the last week and a half, and we haven't had a
right.
chance to see him. So I don't know
That
what the
might be a
team
situation where you can put a guy on the IR and
sneak him on.
sneak a guy on the roster, and you got Jihad Ward and Owen Porter and Andre Carter II. I feel like I did see a nice little pass rush by Andre Carter, so he's definitely still a developmental guy. I want to keep him for sure, and I think the Vikings would easily keep him on the practice squad. But when the guy shows out like Bo Richter did a couple of times, and now he's got 2 sacks, 2 or 3 sacks now. He had 2 the first game or 1.
I think he had 2.
Yeah, so he's still kind of showing out, and God knows that if he plays and kicks ass, it might be a situation where we try to not play a guy, just so they don't get as much tape on him. But I don't think that's gonna be the case. We probably need enough. We're gonna bench a lot of guys this next game. So, I think there's an outside chance he might make it, just if we have to put Murphy on an IR, and stash a player. It would make sense. I think it would make sense.
Yeah, one thing I just want to remind the listeners is that it's pretty rare for your guys to get cut and not make it back to the practice squad, because a lot of these teams having the big practice squad, they're going to bring a lot of their own guys back as well. So I wouldn't be too worried on losing a guy like Bo. If we cut him, I think he'll safely end up back with us.
Wasn't he one of the guys we had to outbid though? Like give him money?
I don't remember, to be honest. I know that Gabe Murphy was
Murphy was one of them.
Yeah, he was the one we had to pay the most, and McLaughlin I think was number 2.
No, McLaughlin was cheap. He was like $10,000.
Really?
It shocked me. He was one of the cheaper ones, which was surprised me because everybody listed him as one of the big gets.
Yeah,
but yeah, he must not have had. We got lucky with that. Very lucky with that. But yeah,
I've always wondered. Do you know how these contracts works? Like these undrafted free agents, you said $10,000 signing bonus, but let's say they make the team. Like, what does that contract look like for them? Is there like the standard rookie contract that they get for undrafted free agents or something?
Well, I mean, you're going to get your game checks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, is it like a 4-year contract that they sign or something? As an undrafted free agent?
I think you get the rights to them. And I think it's. It might be 3, but yeah, I know you get. I knew you get control of them.
Because I was just thinking of Ivan Pace Jr. He's in year 2 as an undrafted free agent. He's probably getting paid damn near nothing.
He's getting a minimum.
Yeah, for whatever that may be. I'm gonna have to do some research into that because that's interesting to me.
I don't know specifics, but I know that you get control. Otherwise, Ivan Pace would be on someone else's team right now.
Yeah. There must be 4 years of control, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think there's a certain amount, and there was guys in similar situations, but when you put them on the practice squad, it's you've cut them. They are not on their rookie, their drafted contract, right? Because they got cut and put on the practice squad, and then now they're on the team again. And I think maybe a Josh Metellus was like that. I think he might have been on the practice squad his first year, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken there, but there, other players the same situation. But that's pretty common. You get cut, you get put on practice squad, you end up making the team. There's control there. I just don't know the specifics behind it.
I just got one more thought that I had from this game, and that thought was about Dallas Turner. I was watching him during the first series, and that guy just looks. You can tell he's a first-round pick. When he goes up against guys like he played against Cleveland, he just moves different. And there's this awesome play breakdown by Matt Fries on Twitter, if you find Matt Fries. And he shows a play with LDR, Levi Jake Rodriguez, running a stunt with Dallas Turner. And LDR takes his it's the right guard, and he takes the left tackle or the right tackle as well. He takes 2 guys out on the same play, pulls the guard close to him with his right hand so that Dallas Turner can loop in. The quarterback had to get rid of it in less than 2 seconds. Otherwise, Dallas Turner was going to obliterate him. But great play by LDR to take out 2, and the strength that guy has is ridiculous. I think that is an incredible 7th-round get for this team. I think he's going to be a valuable member for the Vikings for years to come.
I've had Matt Fries on this show or on my channel before. So if you want a good guest, get him. Get Alec Lewis on here too.
Yeah.
He's been a good guest
And
on our
Alec
channel.
just got his own show, so look out for Alec's material.
Yeah, he talked about it. Yeah. And the mastermind behind the big victory against Cleveland, where first practice didn't look so great, second practice we bounced back, and then we destroy them in this game where I didn't feel like the game was ever in doubt. And he was, he put this together, and we weren't that great in preseason last year, so it feels pretty good to feel like we have it we have it together going into a season, because in past years it hasn't felt like that for the Vikings in preseason.
Yeah, I think
We feel a little more confident, I think.
Yeah, the depth has really come along. The depth from 2020 to like last year 2023, it was kind of really lacking on this team, which means the preseason games were tough to watch. Our backups were just getting their asses kicked the whole time. Now I think the depth is built up, and I'm a huge KOC stan. I love this guy. As long as you give him someone on defense who can run the show, like Brian Flores has obviously done such a wonderful job. But KOC is going to handle the offense. I have full trust in KOC to do a great job in that offense. Excited to see what he can do with Sam Darnold. We've talked about this a lot, but I'm really excited to see what Darnold can do this year with KOC at the helm. And once we get TJ Hawkinson back and get our full, brigade of weapons back, we could see some fireworks, which goes back to the original point where we started the show with the signing of Stephon Gilmore. Being that, this Vikings team is probably going to have to win games this year, 17-14. It's going to have to be some defensive slugfest with Sam Darnold as your quarterback and TJ Hawkinson out for half of the year. So, let B-Flow do his thing. KOC lead us and limit the turnovers out of Sam Darnold, and let's win some games.
Yeah, man. I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good about to be competitive this season.
You know what else makes you feel good,
probably
Dave?
a little more optimistic than most people, just because I feel like we got a lot of weapons and our defense is going to be good. And all Sam Darnold has to do is not screw up in red zones and throw picks.
Just be a point guard. Just facilitate.
Just distribute the ball, throw it to the open dude.
You know what else makes me feel pretty good, Dave?
What?
Watching Daniel Jones look completely and utterly terrible.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad throw
against the Texans. Just terrible pick six that he threw. And then he threw another interception to Derek Stingley on the right sideline there. If I'm excited to watch Brian Flores go into the Meadowlands week 1 and just do his thing and make Daniel Jones look like trash.
Yeah, this is not Ed Donoshell coming.
No.
Big guy, Jones, where you earned your money.
No, sir. Now their defense is pretty damn good too. So it's going to be tough on our offense as well. But, hey, I have confidence in B-Flow making Daniel Jones' life a living hell in week 1. And, going back to your optimism, bet the over on this Vikings team. This is a pretty damn good team. This is a team that isn't projected to win a whole lot this year, but they are going to be projected in a lot of close games, and they are going to pull half of those close games out. And this is going to be a team on the schedule that nobody's going to want to play against. When you look at the schedule and you see Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill, and the defense that this team is rocking, you're going to be nervous.
Yeah, we definitely can't be overlooked. I just hope we do a lot better at home than we've had in past years. I mean, the U.S. Bank has not been the home stadium like either Metrodome or the Met was like. So it's for some reason we haven't held it at home good enough, and hopefully we can change that.
I agree. It comes down to the fans. Yell your ass off.
Close it out, big guy.
All right, guys. This was the Skull Doc talking with you. This was House Calls the Skull Doc, and we had Dave as well from Minnesota Sports Talk. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.